I'm going to play fact or fiction with you and Schefter. You're chiming in. Here we go. Ryan, first question or first statement. If I said Jordan Love and the Packers are going to win the NFC North this year, is that fact or fiction?
I'm going to say that's fact. What they were able to do with the run game with Josh Jacobs last year, Jordan Love playing through injury, getting to the playoffs again for the second year in a row with Jordan Love at quarterback. I believe this team just takes another step. You got Matthew Golden in the first round to add to that wide receiver crew. Matt LaFleur, to me, really coming into his own as a play caller and a defense that was ascending last year.
I have questions. Go ahead, Schefter.
They might be the most talented team in that division. The problem is that the Bears should be a whole lot better. The Vikings, we'll see how J.J. McCarthy fares, but they might be better. The Lions are tough. You could make an argument for any team in this division that is capable of winning it. Anyone.
Can I make a statement here? Because I picked the Packers last year to go to the Super Bowl, and I picked Jordan Love to be the MVP, and I know that he had the injury at the very beginning. Yes, you and I both did that. But as I watched the season progress, even long after he came back from the injury, he still does. What he needs to get out of his game is just the confounding play. He still has a few plays, maybe every other week he does something, the kind of things that cost you games that make you scratch your head. They need to get that out of his game if they're going to take the step you and I are both expecting.
I agree. Critical situation decision-making is very important to Jordan Love. You don't have to go make the play that's above and beyond what you're being asked to do. But the other thing about this is, yes, the Detroit Lions may be better. The Minnesota Vikings may be better. The Chicago Bears may be better because we're talking about different changes that they have made. But all of those teams don't have the continuity and consistency that the Green Bay Packers are going into this season with. And even though the Bears could be better, they have to make some changes. You lose both coordinators in Detroit. Minnesota is changing to a first-year quarterback who was a rookie last year. So I still think the Green Bay Packers are the team to beat in the NFC North.
All right, and then let's skip ahead then to the AFC, as we sort of touched on some of the other parts of that. RC, if someone were to say this is the year that Josh Allen and the Bills finally get to the Super Bowl, and I will point out at ESPN Bet Sportsbook, they are the only team favored to win all 17 games of their season. Is it fact or fiction, RC? This is finally Buffalo's year.
Can I say fact or fiction-ish? Because honestly, I can't answer this question. And I want to be able to give you a definitive fact or fiction. It feels like the year Buffalo should make it. But haven't we said that for 2 or the 3 last few years? And Josh Allen is going to do all that he could possibly do to make this happen. It's going to be about making that play, whether you're standing across from Kansas City, you're standing across from the Baltimore Ravens in the most important moments in the AFC Championship, like we saw on 4th down last year. Can you find a way to finish? That's going to tell the tale or the story for the Buffalo Bills.
Schefter, let me show you what the odds are saying. Despite being favored in all of their regular season games, the Bills at ESPN Bet Sportsbook are only the 4th favorites to win the Super Bowl. The Chiefs and the Eagles are the co-favorites this season, with the Ravens in 3rd. There you see it, followed by the Bills and then the Lions.
And wasn't RC just making the point 20 or so minutes ago that the Ravens are capable of winning the Super Bowl? The Ravens are really good. The Bills are really good. The Bengals should be better. The AFC is loaded, and that doesn't even include the AFC West.
Yes.
Look, one of these years, we all hope it would be the Buffalo Bills year. It would be great to see the Bills win a Super Bowl. This could be the year. Maybe. Yeah. We'll see. But there are a lot of great teams and a lot of great quarterbacks in the AFC.
Well, and the two that keep knocking on the door, we pointed them out in different conversations today. Lamar Jackson and the Ravens and Josh Allen and the Bills, these two superstar quarterbacks, both of whom have won MVP awards and just keep not climbing Mount Mahomes. Is there a reason to sort of lean one or the other this year, RC? If I were to say if one of those two guys is finally going to get it done, which one would you lean towards?
I lean toward Josh Allen. And it's because I've seen it, Greeny. I've seen Josh Allen stand on the field with the greatest player in the world right now and go toe-to-toe with him. I saw Josh Allen give this team a chance on a pass to Dalton Kincaid, falling backwards, throwing off of his back foot, and give them an opportunity to win that game, and he just dropped the football. Josh Allen has shown us that he can do everything you need to do on the big stage. Lamar Jackson has not. Do I believe Lamar Jackson has the potential? Does Lamar Jackson have it in him? Absolutely. He's one of the greatest players I've ever seen, but I haven't seen it the way I've seen it with Josh Allen. And to be honest with you, if I'm going to trust any guy in the playoffs, it's actually Joe Burrow. I talked to a defensive secondary coach this year at a pro day, and I was asking him about the different quarterbacks. And he's like, yeah. And he played all three of those guys this year. He played Lamar, he played Kansas City, and he also played Joe Burrow. And he said, you know who the best one is? It's Joe Burrow. He said, Patrick and Josh and Lamar, they can make something out of nothing, but it's usually because they've missed the something in the beginning. He said, Joe Burrow never misses. If this defense is right, watch for this team. They could be back again competing to go to the Super Bowl.
And they might be. But that's the whole thing. Here's the thing. It doesn't feel as great as Kansas City has been in the past, and they've been tremendous. It doesn't feel like the Chiefs are better than they've been. It does feel like the Bills are better. It feels like the Ravens might be better. It feels like the Bengals will bounce back and figure out what's ailed them early in the season.
Have they made any marked improvement on defense? Have the Bengals made the moves to their defense was so bad last year. I don't care how good Joe Burrow is.
They've got some major question marks, but the thing with that offense is it's good enough to outscore a lot of the other defenses and overcome their own defensive deficiencies.
Right. And there's, as far as the others, just quickly are concerned, Bills or Ravens, which one had the offseason that sort of got them closer, do you think? Is it if you look over the totality of their offseason?
I honestly like what both did. Like, we've got two really smart front offices and organizations. They've both made a lot of moves. We'll see which one's better. But both teams, I believe, are better. And I don't know if he changes the complexion of this offense. And if we go back over the last 3 years via Hembo and look at the way that quarterbacks who run the football have affected offenses, Justin Fields, his team, his offense, has had the second most rushing yards of any team other than Lamar Jackson. You're looking at the Jets running the football, playing tough defense, and trying to turn around their season behind number 7.
I am infinitely more optimistic than most Jet fans I hear from. RC, next up, is this the year Lamar Jackson finally wins that elusive championship?
You know what, Greeny, I can't answer that question. It's the year that Lamar Jackson has to win the championship. There's no more pressure on any player in this entire league to perform in the playoffs than there is Lamar Jackson. It doesn't matter that you add DeAndre Hopkins. It doesn't matter that you go out and get Malachi Starks to be in the secondary in the first round. It's what does Lamar Jackson do in the most important moments. And what has happened is he's been the best player all season during the regular season and come up short in the playoffs. That can't happen if he wants to get a ring.
Absolutely. And then finally, Adam Schefter, I will come to you on the Steelers. How long? It's May 27th. Yeah. How long are they willing to wait for Aaron Rodgers?
Well, Greeny, it's May 27th, and their first game is not till September 7th when they play the New York Jets. So I would say they're willing to wait until September 7th. But the truth of the matter is the Steelers have a mandatory mini camp June 10th to the 12th. So if we're going to get an answer from Aaron Rodgers, and he certainly seemed to hint at that this past week at a public Q&A, I think we could hear something in the next couple of weeks about him coming back to Pittsburgh finally.
Yeah, if you've missed it, he's done two things that were sort of like dropping breadcrumbs, right? First, he was publicly throwing passes with DK Metcalf at UCLA not long ago, right? This is something that you choose to do randomly. And then this week, he was asked at this event, you know, a young woman asked him, could you ever play for the Bears? And he said, well, no, but I could see myself playing for a team that's visiting Chicago this year.
And he also said he couldn't see himself playing for New Orleans. So he ruled out the Saints. He kept alive the Steelers, and that's where we're at today.
Speaking of the Steelers, let's throw a take into the hot take time machine. Less than 2 weeks ago, Ryan Clark was on First Take, and he had some interesting thoughts about his legendary former coach.
I believe Mike Tomlin should coach in another organization. Mike Tomlin should be a fresh voice somewhere else, because I believe, as great as a coach he is, and he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, I believe his voice has run stale there. I believe he's allowed that team to reach the highest of heights they're going to reach unless they can get a top-tier quarterback.
So I'm trying to decipher what you're saying.
He needs to go have his Andy Reid Kansas City run.
I got you.
So we talked about that a lot the following day, RC. And look, there were a lot of analysts who, why are you